Hey, it's James Taylor here. Around 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Aristotle, on pondering what the meaning and what the purpose of life was, said that it is to be happy. We all want to be happy. Now, more recently, we've looked at, well, what is happiness? What creates this feeling of happiness, this experience of happiness? And something's come up as part of that, which we call the flow state. When you're experiencing flow in what you're doing is when you're most likely to be happy. So how does flow work? Let me talk about it a little bit just now, describe it a little bit to you. So the first thing you know if you're in a flow state is when you're completely immersed in that activity. You're just enveloped by it. If you've ever had that experience of doing something you love, where you just lose sense of time, and suddenly what you thought was an hour is actually 6 hours because you've become so immersed in that thing. That's very often part of what we call a flow state. But another point is, it has to be an activity of your own choosing. It's something that we have to decide for ourselves. This is activity we want to do, and so we can kind of govern how we spend our time as well. We often experience flow states when we're doing activities which are neither too challenging, in which case we can often get burnout. So sometimes if you're doing activities which are so challenging, so mentally intense, that they can burn you out as well. So that's one danger. And then the other side is when you're doing those activities which are kind of underwhelming, which lead to boredom, which just aren't challenging you enough. So it's about finding somewhere in that kind of middle ground, some time, some activity which you are losing yourself in, which you have control over, which is neither going to burn you out or completely bore you. Another criteria for the flow state is something which there is a clear objective to why you're doing this thing. So it could be, if you're an artist and you're painting, you get completely lost in painting. It's because you have no objective to paint. You want to you enjoy the process of painting, or you actually want the final thing at the end of it as well. If you're an entrepreneur and if you lose yourself completely in strategizing and working out plans for this new business, there is an objective there as well. So you have to have an objective. And the final point is, in order to get the flow state, you have to be able to get some kind of immediate feedback. And that feedback can be intrinsic feedback, where you can just step back and say, that's good, that's worth doing, or we need to tweak this or tweak that. Or it can sometimes be extrinsic feedback, where other people are looking at the work that you're doing and the activity you're doing and saying, this is great, or you maybe need to just kind of adjust a couple of things here as well. So those are some of the kind of criteria, the component parts of what we call a flow state, the thing that gives us a sense of happiness, this feeling of happiness. So if you reflect on it just now for yourself and how you spend your days and you spend your weeks, what activities in that week do you feel this sense of flow in? What activities do you lose yourself in? What activities do you have control over? Those activities which are neither too demanding, but also not something that completely bores you as well. Where do you find happiness in the creative work that you do? That's most often when we're experiencing these flow states. So I hope that's been useful. My name's James Taylor. Hi, it's James here. Did you enjoy that episode? If so, there's two things that we can do to continue the journey together. Firstly, I would love if you to subscribe, give us 5 stars and leave a comment. Secondly, if you go to jamestaylor.me and enter your name and email address, I'm going to send you some free goodies all around creativity and innovation. Look forward to continuing the journey together.